Hello, it's Briggs here, and like always, welcome to All Day Anime. And in today's video, I will be explaining how and why each member of the 7 deadly sins were given their corresponding sin. This video is actually one that I've already made before, but with so much new information, I figured a more accurate version would be necessary. Before I begin, I just want to shout out a video over on my buddy 2Spooky's channel where we collabed and counted down 100 facts on the 7 deadly sins. I'm really impressed with how the video turned out, so I'll be linking it down below and at the end of this video. You guys should definitely check it out. But without any more delay, let's begin. Each member of the 7 deadly sins has been judged and found guilty of committing a grievous crime by the Kingdom of Leones, with their sin being given based on a moral failing on their part. Now, a lot of these crimes were falsely accused or had varying circumstances that I will mention throughout the video, and what I find very interesting is a lot of the sins personify their sins in many ways. And I think the best person to start off with is Meliodas, the sin of wrath. By the way, spoiler warning for this video. Wrath can be defined as extreme anger, which you would think doesn't suit the calm, nonchalant Meliodas very well. Though my personal opinion is that he acts that way in order to keep his immense power under control. And that's exactly why he was given the sin of wrath. He lost control of his emotions after seeing the love of his life, Liz, die in front of him. And by losing control of his emotions, he lost himself to his wrath, completely destroying the kingdom of Danafor. I do want to point out that Fraudrin had already pretty much destroyed Danafor. Meliodas just completely wiped it out afterwards. And Meliodas even refers to his sin as not being able to protect Danafor, its citizens, and Liz from the kingdom's annihilation. Next up is King, the sin of sloth. Sloth is the reluctance to work or make an effort, aka laziness. Now, before even getting into his crime, you can tell he is none other than the sin of sloth, choosing to levitate rather than walk most of the time, and he even turns his powerful weapon into a comfy pillow. And in regards to his crime, after supposedly ending Helbram's life, King took on the sentence for ignoring Helbram's mass murdering of humans continuously over a period of 500 years. This came close to sparking a war between humans and fairies. He was consequently sentenced to an imprisonment for 1,000 years and was recognized as the sin of sloth as he ignored the atrocities committed and turned a blind eye. And he can even further be seen as sloth, as at first glance he left the Fairy King's forest ignoring his duties, his job, and during his time away for hundreds of years, the forest was destroyed. Now, the most important thing to point out is that he lost his memories. He completely forgot about Helbram and the fairy forest altogether, so it wasn't exactly his fault, and he was labeled his sin falsely in my opinion, though he still personifies the sin of sloth in many ways as I mentioned earlier. Next, let's talk about Gother, as this sin is one I actually got wrong in my last video. Gother is the sin of lust, and lust is defined as a very strong sexual desire. Gother was labeled the sin of lust after he was accused of forcing Nadja, Bartra Leona's younger sister, to vile sexual acts, which ended in her death. In reality, Nadja and Gother were both in love and quite happy in each other's presence. It was then revealed that Nadja was close to death and wished to spend her final moments with Gother. After a moment of passion, she peacefully died within Gother's embrace, and in panic, Gother tried reanimating her by ripping out his magical heart and replacing Nadja's with it, to no avail. In the meantime, Gother is screaming, alerting some nearby guards that find him in a bedroom full of blood with Nadja's deceased body below him, which doesn't look great for Gother. He was essentially accused of rape and murder, and that is how he got his sin. Prior to knowing this, I always just assumed Gother was given the sin of lust, as since he doesn't understand human emotion and love, and within human interaction and sex, without emotion all that's left is lust. So that was my theory. I still think that's how he personifies lust outside of the crime itself, as the Gother we know doesn't understand human emotion. Next up on the list, let's talk about Bon the Fox's sin of greed. As the only survivor of the Fairy King's forest, he took the blame and was convicted for destroying the forest and killing its guardian Saint Elaine. As a result, he was sentenced to death and became known as the sin of greed due to his apparent greed for immortality. Now, we all know this not to be true. The demon destroyed the forest and killed Elaine, not Bon. So he was definitely falsely accused, though I do think he personifies the sin of greed as well. He is definitely a greedy person doing whatever it takes to get what he wants, but throughout the series, the odd time that he breaks this mold and does something for someone else's benefit are some of my favorite moments of Bon in the manga. I don't want to get too into spoiler territory, but an example of this is throughout the series it seems that Bon will do anything, and I mean anything, to get his love Elaine back. But at one point in the story, he made a sacrifice for the benefit of his best friend Meliodas. And I'll just leave it at that. The fact that he seems to only have a handful of selfless moments throughout the series definitely makes him the best candidate for the sin of greed. Next up we got Diane, the serpent's sin of envy. Basically, her sin is jealousy, and you could see that a lot in the first season of the anime. Her jealousy of people who are short, or her jealousy of Elizabeth for being so close to Meliodas. But as for her crime, Diane and Matrona were hired by Knights of Leones as mercenaries to assist them in a battle against foreign savages. The Holy Knight Ganon deceives them, revealing his ultimate intention of taking down a giant for reputation and prestige. Although Matrona unfortunately dies from a venomous arrow, Ganon underestimates her strength and his plans are ruined. The giantess passes away after killing the majority of the troops, including Ganon, with remaining survivors falsifying the report of the incident to place blame on Diane. She is eventually labeled the sin of envy for her jealousy towards Matrona, who she supposedly murdered, along with 330 innocent knights of the kingdom. She is sentenced to death by beheading, but Meliodas intervened under direct orders of King Leones. So yes, she was falsely given her sin, but like I said before, she is definitely a jealous and envious person. Now let's talk about Merlin the boar's sin of gluttony. Gluttony can be defined as habitual greed or excess in eating. Now my main theory, and I'm pretty certain I'm correct, is that Merlin is gluttonous for information and knowledge and power. She is constantly experimenting and trying to learn new things about magic and the world, even referring to people as guinea pigs. Now I think her crime has finally been revealed in chapter 249, like it seems pretty obvious to me that this is her crime, but let me know what you guys think down below. The neutral metropolis of the sages who sided with neither the demons or the goddesses, Belialin, which is where she's from. There, a miraculous child prodigy was born, possessing the magic of infinity. So as rumors of the child resounded to both demon underworld and the heavens, a god from each wanted the child offered to them. Naturally, the sages of Belialin were heavily opposed, claiming that the child's power was of course their own. But the young child, against the will of the sages, negotiated with the gods on her own. Her terms were gifts of her own liking. The Demon King gave detailed information on all the secret arts and mysteries of the underworld and divine protection that could defend against the brainwashing of goddesses. The supreme deity bestowed the child divine protection, able to nullify any and all manner of dark curses against commandments. But in the end, that girl who had received these divine gifts turned down both of them. In other words, she had deceived the gods. The two enraged gods rained curses and mists of death, hellfire, and lightning over Belialin for 1,000 days, destroying the metropolis. But the child, with the gods' protection and the magic infinity, was able to easily escape. In other words, she got what she wanted, deceived the gods, and that resulted in her homeland and its citizens being annihilated. Like the definition of gluttony, habitual greed and excess, but not in eating, but for information, knowledge, and power. Not really confirmed anywhere, this is mainly my perspective and my opinion, so let me know what you think down below. And because I'm so stupid and somehow forgot about Escanor, how can someone forget about the man, the myth, the legend, praise the fucking sun? I don't know how I forgot about him, but I'm kind of lazy and I'm kind of in a rush to get this video out. My opinion on Escanor has not changed at all since my last video. So here's the clip from my video. And finally, Escanor, the Lion's Sin of Pride. And if you made it this far into the video, type the words praise the sun in the comments below to show you made it this far and to show some love for the video. And this one is also pretty straightforward, though in his nighttime form contradicts the Sin of Pride. Beginning with the rising of the sun at dawn, Escanor begins to make a dramatic change, both physically and mentally. In this state, he is literally the pinnacle of pride. His normally skittish demeanor is replaced by one of confidence and a royal atmosphere. Here are some quotes to show you how prideful he is. I am an existence unlike any other in this world, the Lion's Sin of Pride, Lord Escanor. Or apologize to me that you were born into my world. And specifically in his fight with Estarossa, where anyone who felt hatred towards Estarossa in any way lose all their strength before him. Of course it had no effect on Escanor, and he says, of course it has no effect. I have no reason to feel hatred to those beneath me. And Estarossa even states that he is truly the Sin of Pride. And one of my personal favorites, when Estarossa uses full counter on Escanor, reflecting his attack back at him, he says, I see, that would explain how I felt pain just now, as expected of my own attacks. As you can see, during his daytime form, Escanor is the definition of the Sin of Pride. And that is the end of this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button to let me know. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, as there is much more 7 Deadly Sins content on the way. And just like that, I will see you guys all next time, dudes. Shinpaku.